Eternity playing to their strengths, and it was awesome. Let's see where we go for the next battleground, and where LFM has a chance to finish out this series and get their second win of HGC. It's going to be Cursed Hollow.
Cursed Hollow for both teams. HeroesHearth. Gilly, HeroesHearth's record unblemished on this battleground. You know why? Because they haven't played it.
Yep.
They're 0-0 on this battleground. 2 games played for LFM, they're 1-1. So HeroesHearth undoubtedly coming to unfamiliar territory, but I can pretty much guarantee you they've scrimmed this and practiced this multiple times. It's just a matter of getting it out there, getting it out of your system, finding ways to play it. So it's not that big of a deal.
Where does the Dahaka fall in draft?
You cannot give it up to Swabs on this battleground, I think. But I don't think it falls in that first rotation.
I'm sorry, I was dancing.
Is that what you call it?
Yeah. I'm excited, man. We have almost made it through part 1. It has been so fun. We have seen improvements from every single team, all the way from the top, all the way down to the bottom, the perceived bottom, because who knows what part 2 will be like with improvements from every team. And it's just been a blast. I'm getting pumped for the Western Clash. We know our teams now. We know Europe's teams now. I'm ready to see NA bring it to Europe. I think we're going to get some series.
I 100% believe that this will be the most competitive Western Clash between Europe and North America that we've ever seen. So
I totally agree.
I'm ready for that. But Malfurion, the Malfurion factor has been really high, Gilly. With HeroesHearth, I don't know if Malfurion is a high priority first pick hero for them, especially on Cursed Hollow. But if you don't pick up Malfurion or Genji, you give up that combo over to LFM, right?
Yes. Malfurion to consider, Genji to consider, Dahaka to consider, Malthael somewhere, maybe. His priority in this series has been sort of weird. Greymane.
Stick with it. They stick with it. If you don't get Hanzo, you go Greymane.
It's got to be Draded's Genji.
Malfurion, Genji, but then I think you risk giving up Dahaka, which might have more value on this. I think that there are definitely things to consider when you look at them. Between the Li Ming factor for both of these teams, the Dahaka factor, I think, is also something to consider. Having that global. Are you willing to give up the global? Are you willing to have it banned out from you? And I think that is right now maybe what LFM is considering, maybe saying that the global and Swabs' hero might be more valuable than Malfurion, Genji, or some combo of that. Also, ETC has not been picked up. So given the map that we're on, there's definitely some different things to consider.
Well, Tyrael is already gone, so there's no Tyrael Greymane. And that was an important point with the Genji for LFM, but they only have the 2 picks instead of the last game where they had the 3 because they were first pick. So they go for Malfurion and they get Genji again.
I feel like Dahaka, you asked before this draft started, where does Dahaka lie? I would say that he lies here. If he doesn't get picked up here, you have to imagine he goes to the ban. I don't think there's a way you give that up over to Swabs. And on a map that really accepts a global style play on this one, given the way the tribute spun. So if they're not going with it, then ETC seems likely in a scenario like this. I'm looking at different heroes, right? Like what goes down the line? Diablo, Anub'arak, things like that kind of fall into place. Anub'arak could do well if you want to try and set something up, but it's not necessarily high priority. So depending on where the Warriors lie, I think is also something to consider.
Do you feel like HeroesHearth should take Uther here? They've been a lot more willing to give up their support.
That surprises me.
To take Rhaegar over Uther again.
Uther, Greymane. Greymane and Hanzo, their highest win rates by far are with Uther. And there's no real in-depth explanation why. When you're able to keep the 2 of the highest damage dealing heroes alive in the game, with armor and the healing, it's much easier to get more value out of it. And they trade out better against other heroes. If you've got a Hanzo versus the team and you can keep that Hanzo alive, that Hanzo will trade out better with whoever's on that other side. So, there's a lot of factors that go into it. But that's one of the big things. And with that being such a notable thing on how strong Greymane is with the Uther, I'm a bit surprised.
LFM looking at an Abathur ban here, not wanting to deal with a double gray main, especially because what HeroesHearth already has is very strong. You add a solo laner to that, you can definitely have an Abathur along with that and still have a strong 4-man to try to contest those early tributes, and then later on you get the global pressure thanks to the Abathur. That's banned away. I'm pretty sure that is an indication that LFM would like to get Dahaka here too. Try to make sure that they have global. They have the global advantage.
I think that without the Abathur, and I'm looking at Arthlon heroes at this point, right? Because Greymane will pretty much be crowing. I got a feeling they might just go down the Falstad route. Right? Just make sure you have the global. It's something Arthlon's played a couple times, so thoughts?
Cassia ban versus Greymane. But if LFM don't want to go into Dahaka, if they're more focused on team fights, Swaps could play Arthas again. It's another way of trying to counter the Greymane, not with blinds, but with attack speed slows. Now they still want their Dahaka, and they get that Anub Barak for the Anub Genji synergy.
Yeah, the Anub Genji synergy is not just them diving in, which they do so well. We saw it earlier from Fnatic. They even put a Tyrande in that composition. We got Sonya, we got Brightwing. I saw Brightwing on the list for Arthalon. I didn't think that they'd go down that again. It's only been one game. It did not look very good when they ran it previously. But the Cocoon on the Rhaegar, making sure that you don't have the Ancestral is kind of that double value. You kind of get on that target, double stun, swift strike directly through. We already saw the coordination in the last game. That much easier here as long as Anub Barak's landing those stuns.
Now for T. Last game was Tychus. Li Ming's available. Li Ming gives Wave of Force, making sure that you've got a ranged interrupt for Mosh Pit, but you still have a Nubarak too. They're going to go for Tychus instead. Grenade can do the same thing as long as outside of the Odin. I think it was very, almost certain that it was going to be one of those two picks.
Yeah, the Tychus I think definitely gives them a lot more control. You know, oftentimes I think we'll see a combo, whether it's Relentless Soldier or the quarterback, and I think maybe this battleground, if you want to try and contest those tributes, quarterback might be there, but if you're afraid of the dive, the stun potential. So we'll see that. One of the big things I think that when we do get to those 5-on-5s, it'll be the Brightwing and Sonya positioning. That's going to be the main thing, is if Brightwing can get the polymorph off onto Genji, and then you can follow up with that Poison Spear, or just the spear in general, you have that ultimate collapse. Put Greymane behind that, that's a dead Genji. So the coordination is definitely there. It's just the positioning. You cannot get too far forward and split. If any number of those pieces are not together, it makes it a very difficult fight.
Yeah, the damage is there for HeroesHearth, even with that double support, because McIntyre is an extremely capable Sonya, and we've talked and talked and talked about Crowin's Greymane. So let's see if it's enough for HeroesHearth to send us into Game 5, or if LFM with Swab's Dahaka, with Draded's Genji, all of those classic picks for this team coming in can give them the win. Their second win in HGC 2018.
Swab's Dahaka. So that plays out. Brightwing, of course, surprises me a little bit. I expected a global. You know, Brightwing kind of obviously fits that. Her wave clear is pretty subpar, but not the Falstad, right? The Falstad gives you the disengage, gives you that global, but they really feel the Genji. This is how they're going to deal with the Genji.
Yeah, it's interesting because we have seen quite a lot of Arthalon Falstad, and it does have the potential to get caught out. He's been caught out a few times with that Falstad, but Brightwing is just as susceptible, and as you said, there's no boomerang for Brightwing to come in at level 7 and be able to increase that wave clear. Here though, the polymorph, that's the big deal. Also being able to give some of that spell armor, that'll help in trying to negate something like the Swift Strike, but being able to have a polymorph and Emerald Wind as two ways of stopping the momentum of LFM and slowing down what they would like to do in the way that the team fights worked for LFM in the last game. You've got the Twilight Dream and then Genji to go in, the Tychus too. Once the Aware says go, it's on Arthalon to basically say stop.
Stop and go, Simon says. Arthalon? He's lucky to get out of there. Swab just kind of casually putting his tongue out there, pulling in a little Brightwing. And those towers hurt nowadays.
Yes, they do. That's something that LFM has a nice advantage with, and that they have Figgy with that Anub Barak who can provide the Scarabs to soak up some of those shots. McIntyre is taking a bunch of damage. He's still being body blocked away, waits for the Whirlwinds. They can go back in. with BBJ diving in with that Pharaoh lunge does quite a good amount of damage. The turnaround was great from Figgy there as McIntyre hit T with the spear. Figgy keeps his Tychus alive.
Yeah, Figgy had good recognition, saw the first whirlwind, got the interrupt, saved his second one. I wonder if we'll see the extra dive range with the bigger center, or whether we might see the better barbs to kind of deal with that frontline style of an ETC and a Sonya to kind of thwart the attack. So we'll see that here in a moment as level 4 is now obtained here for Heroes Hearth and almost here for LFM, which is where that will actually be picked.
So Arthalon has been creating advantages for Heroes Hearth. Phase shifts bottom, almost dies, but then doesn't die, has the help of Greymane to get some damage done versus those towers, heads back up, trying to slow down LFM and their siege in that lane. And it has netted a slight advantage for Heroes Hearth, and we'll see if he's got that shift up to help along with this too, because Figgy's going in, gets onto the point, he wears their 2, and T is coming in, swabs, everyone's coming in, it's a party as they're showing up.
McIntyre's just trying to survive, but Drayden is making sure he doesn't. Ishbu gets the power slide in. BBJ gets a heal off at the last second. Now LFM is trying to run. Crowan, however, gets the tongue dragged onto him. The polymorph is going to be there. Crowan, the rest of his team, did not follow.
No, there's the roots there too. This split, it's parted the seas of Heroes Hearth to have that pull in with the drag. It was so good. The roots on the other side of that. Crowan hoping he could maybe go around the side of those roots, but those are the bigger roots too. Now that 4 is here and it's picked up for Malfear, we've got the first tribute spawning right now. LFM doesn't get the camp, but they did get the couple of kills there.
Immediately, Heroes Hearth sent Rhaegar to the bottom, trying to get some wave clear, try and deny some experience. Clearing out that wave, sending them into the towers, denies experience over to LFM. It also allows BBJ to kind of come up and support this push middle.
Gets the heal on that wizard to keep the spell armor going a little bit longer. Sonya's going to grab the Giants at the bottom.
Here we go, the tongue again. Swabs is just landing everything. And when you pose the question of where does Dahaka land in this draft, because Heroes Hearth had 3 picks before the second ban phase, I expected them to have that or deny it in the ban phase. They did neither, and so far it seems to be paying dividends. You know, Heroes Hearth, slight experience advantage, but it feels like LFM has had some control, but Heroes Hearth with the structure advantage is definitely keeping the pressure on and starting to open this up a little bit in their favor.
Yeah, having this push is very nice for them. And you can see they chunk through this fort. They've got the Giants behind this too. LFM late to show up any more from this, but now they're keeping Heroes Hearth here as there's the 2 versus 1 with ETC. Heroes Hearth wanting to join up all together with the double globals in the top. It's Giants that are enabling and assisting that Dahaka in the top lane too. So he might be able to get the earlier stock in to join.
Ishbu on the backside, we can see pinging. The Dahaka's coming in, the phase shift, Brightwing's coming in. BBJ caught in a bad spot as T is just melting through BBJ's health bar, but he does manage to get away into that wolf form.
Yeah, stays away. There's a lot of body blocks that were there too. Heroes Hearth came to the aid of BBJ, and once he gets more healed back up, should be able to go back in. Cleanse as McIntyre was the target for LFM for the moment.
They have the wall to fall back to. Gonna get the pre-shield in here, trying to enable McIntyre to go in. Right now, LFM is split. The Aware is on the wrong side of this battleground. Figgy going in, he's on the front side, not able to get enough heals, and now they're looking for more. T is going down, uses that run and gun. I think he's not gonna make it out alive. Cocktail just misses, but BBJ hops into that wolf form, make sure that he does not.
So one thing that was fairly catastrophic for LFM is LFM got split, and it was likely that it was going to happen that way because they had a couple up who had been trying to deny from one side. Heroes Hearth had the wall that you had mentioned that they fell back to after BBJ took a bunch of damage and then went straight up. And that split was problematic for LFM. They tried to rectify the situation by having a Nubarak burrow charge in, and Drayden wanted to go in along with them. When you have Genji and Nubarak, the whole idea is that you burrow charge in, you have the follow-up Impale 2 for a stun lock, and then with a Swift Strike, you eliminate a target very quickly. That didn't happen. The Swift Strike missed. We're seeing this again now too. Figgy and Drayden going in, but Drayden's in a lot of trouble with that positioning. He has his cyber agility to jump out.
LFM just kind of has a nose for whenever They feel that the enemy team is on the camp. They're like, can we invade? 10's not close, so we'll come up there. In Forest, that was about 75 to 80% down. HeroesHearth was forced to walk away from that. The early game team fighting of an Anubarak, Dahaka, Tychus, Genji seems to be tough to deal with for HeroesHearth. We don't have the big Emerald Wind, which will most likely be coming out from Brightwing to kind of split that. You don't have the Ancestral to keep somebody alive. And while the damage is there, it just feels like the control in these fights has been on LFM's side.
The situation here for LFM, though, is they went up, they denied the boss, but it was just a delay of the inevitable. The best thing, though, is that they can try to respond in kind, maybe head down to their own boss, but this is getting burned down so fast between having Sonya and Greymane. Other idea, try to make sure they have 10 to defend versus it, and LFM, because HeroesHearth hung up at the top, LFM got their second tribute.
ETC and Brightwing, they're here. Emerald Wind is enough to scare them away. It's
and
about
10.
60%. Arthlon trying to make sure it doesn't fully leash just yet. He's keeping it there. Remember, every time you do that, yeah, eventually it heals up automatically.
So although LFM stalled HeroesHearth went, got bruisers, that's pushing in mid, went to the boss. LFM kind of late to going down and getting their own. They're going to stalk in. They're giving up trying to defend versus that great Emerald Wind, preemptive Emerald Wind. Vicky gets the cocoon as Drayden goes in. There's no Rhaegar to keep this ETC alive, and now Crowan is, their BBJ is in danger with the second kill off of that Twilight Dream. LFM just in the nick of time needed to make something happen, and they did.
Everything revolves around the Rhaegar. Brightwing is nice, but it's never going to be enough. And I actually heard Kaldor talking about it earlier, is that solo Brightwing has so many flaws that it's hard to run. Fnatic, they can pull certain things off that other teams can't. They've practiced different strategies. But in this situation with Brightwing, the cocoon, that's why you see the extra range. Anubarak just dives right in. You have the priority targets you want to hit, but you also want to make sure and get that cocoon out. He did just that. They were not able to recover T. He's definitely not recovering from this one.
Yeah, LFM were split. Those respawn timers fairly low for a HeroesHearth as they just get right back into the fight, get that kill, and that is a lot of the siege to go along with this curse for LFM. They're going to do what they can. They have dealt with the boss after it took out the fort in the top for HeroesHearth because LFM wanted to make sure to favor the team fight, favor getting those kills, and then getting the curse. So they get one fort from this curse. With Giants in the bottom, I don't know how much more they're going to get, though, Jay-How.
Yeah, you generally expect more. At this point in the game, you expect to have more out of those pushes. But with that death, Arthlon, I think he was trying to be a little bit cute there. I don't think he's getting out of here.
That was the game. No one else is, even showing up. This is delaying. Just a delay. Unfortunately for HeroesHearth, they were trying to get something done along with that. Sonya's in the top. This is a huge split up of HeroesHearth. LFM are diving in. They're going to look for more kills.
They are. The Ancestral came out onto Ishbu. Ishbu actually went back to try and sacrifice himself. I don't know if he has a slide just yet. He's trying to stay alive from the armor and actually gets interrupted as he gets knocked back. That's going to be another member going down. BBJ, as fast as you are in dog form, I think the mobility actually Drayden. I don't think he had any more tools left. He had already used his agility. They're turning their attention towards the boss. And it all starts on that Arthlon play. Arthlon literally was trying to be cute there and bait it out. Sometimes he gets a little bit too confident, and that caused a lot of problems there.
It was costly, very costly. He is up and he has Emerald Wind in a few seconds as stage dive is going to be up too once ETC respawns. HeroesHearth focused on the top, focusing on that lane where they did get a fort down already and they steal the Giants. The boss is going to be in the bottom. There's a fort in the way of that for LFM to get the same, so they're going to go back to defend instead. HeroesHearth, they get the keep towers. They still have the experience advantage, but you're absolutely right. You said it earlier, LFM has the control in the fights, and that seems to have continued here into the mid-game.
It has, but that counterplay there by HeroesHearth, recognizing opportunities they could find somewhere else on the map. They got the Siege Giants, they get an entire keep wall. Yes, they lost a few members, ETC kind of getting a little bit caught up there, but trading a keep wall in your boss lane versus, say, a little bit of a fort, I don't even know if that entire fort will go down. It's technically a trade that you're definitely okay with if you're HeroesHearth.
Definitely, and it's evidenced by that continued advantage as the boss is wailing away on the fort. Stays alive for the moment. There's still minions here too. As HeroesHearth is regrouping back up, going to get both mercenary camps at the same time in in front of this tribute that's about to spawn. HeroesHearth, we'll see if they're willing to contest it. The positioning for LFM is very good if anyone walks in, and for HeroesHearth, they're so close to 16. There's no fear of an LFM curse from this. They're just about there.
Yeah, they're just about there. They're also 30 seconds away from the next boss on their side. Aware looks like he's going to get a free channel. I think HeroesHearth, without 16, they don't want to contest this. They realize there's other things they can do on the map, get 16, maybe force an advantage elsewhere. The boss play, when all 5 members are up in the enemy team, is very, very risky. You'd have to find something a little bit crazy to go on LFM and team. They're going to fall back in defense of their mid-keep wall.
Dahaka's in the top. And he is back. So as soon as HeroesHearth step out of the mid lane, Swabs is just fine to back out.
This is super risky. I mean, LFM is never afraid to back down in these situations. ETC's got to stop getting stunned there. Ishbu, he's going back for zoning control. Brightwing is coming in. LFM, not 16. They're looking to come in and maybe invade, steal this boss.
That impale was huge from Figgy as a lot of HeroesHearth had started to walk toward him. Staunched all that aggression. Arth on his way off of the side. Gets a polymorph instead. Now the focus is on Anubarak as he goes in. Stage dive from Ishbu. An immediate cocoon as he was power sliding on top of LFM. But the Earth Grass Totem might mean the difference between life and death for T. McIntyre goes in with the mystical spear. Crowan wants to dive forward too. But it is not enough to get that Tychus kill.
Dahaka's trying to hurt. The boss probably just now gave him vision of that, and they're like, all right, we're not going to make it. But because of that earlier damage that they did, this is potentially, they're looking to mount up and potentially do more. But Odin will do well to counter siege this push from HeroesHearth. 16 here for LFM, but a siege giant boss push down this top lane.
Emerald Wind and Ancestral Healing to allow HeroesHearth to stay here for longer as McIntyre zoning LFM away from the boss. Half health, HeroesHearth still here, still in the base, still willing to step forward and see if they can get any kills from the power slide, from the spear. Tunneling Claws saves Swab's life. The boss getting onto core, J-How.
The boss getting onto the core. Look for Ishbu to try and make a big play here. He slides in. He's trying to find the Aware. The Aware hits him with the Twilight Dream, but the core falling down to 50% and going down. The boss and company are going to take this victory in favor of HeroesHearth, and it all goes back to one bad team fight salvaged by HeroesHearth by pushing that top lane, and Gilly sets him up a win condition. Kind of, I don't even know, what do you call it when something goes bad but something good still comes out of it? HeroesHearth, they probably didn't think, hey, look, what if we sacrifice a couple people and die just so we can go get a keep all? That's definitely not the plan, but it ends up working out.
Yeah, it's making the best of a bad situation. And
there we go.
being flexible enough to work your way out of those tough situations when they arise. LFM had been dominating a lot of the team fights, but with the double global, it was just enough between Stage Dive and Brightwing to consistently keep that experience advantage. And going in for the boss, I was even a little bit scared, as you were saying, because yes, they didn't have 16, but LFM had been winning so many team fights. And Arthalon rotated all the way around, so he wasn't even near the point should he need to Emerald win people off of it. But the rest of the team, their zoning had been just so good at making sure to push back everyone else from LFM and getting that boss. That was enough for HeroesHearth to feel like they could get the win, and now that takes us all the way to Game 5 in this series. We're going to go to a commercial break. After the break, Game 5 between HeroesHearth and LFM.